We're going to get started here. We're going to get on with our second part. We've got some other things to talk about, just kind of sort of the evolution of what we do. And before I forget about it, I wanted to sort of just kind of reflect on what just happened there. And we were probably one of the more efficient quartets coming out. We formed in August of 2009. Our name, Forefront, came from, we just wanted to, because a lot of us have been in many other quartets before. Myself, personally, I've been on the international stage with a quartet since 1999 in Anaheim. I've been in about 5 quartets throughout that time. All of them were great. You know, but when I thought about what is the name of this quartet going to be when it formed, you know, I just kind of came up with and asked the guys, what do you think about being at the forefront of what we do as far as quartets trying to improve, you know, trying to be a class act as much as we can. That was the goal of the name. That's the story behind the name, to be at the forefront and sort of lead the charge of that. And it's been wild to see the evolution kind of happen as it has. But going back to the efficiency thing, we have been very efficient. In our first contest, we scored an 80.1, I think. Very first contest, which is great. And then the next contest, we scored an 83.4. And then the next contest, I mean, it was pretty much that quick. And we get that question, so how do you just like gain 3 points when you're in the 80s? And it takes a lot. One of our coaches always said to us, you know, when you're a B, C, or CD quartet, you can literally do this much work and go this far, okay? But when you're an A, B plus quartet, you have to do this much work to go this far. And that was Gene Barford who told us that. Gene and Brian Barford live in Cincinnati. And that was the beginning of our coaching. You know, that was really, I mean, she was like the mom we never had, because she just beat us up. The sweetest lady, but I mean, wouldn't let you get away with anything.
Yeah, I use the word relentless anytime I'm talking about Jean.
I mean, I coached with her one time, and she, I'd say, oh, I'm out of breath, I can't do it. I'm almost like passed out on the floor, literally. And she says, well, if it were easy, everybody would be international champions, wouldn't they? Thanks. That was what we took the beating. But as far as efficiency is concerned, and this is something you might want to think about in your quartet or even chorus, but specifically quartet, I think, you know, there's a lot of good technology out there. And when we had a coaching session like this, you know, you saw how we would work on a section of a song. And then we'd work on another section of the song. And Brian is fantastic at blowing it. You notice he probably blew the pitch 50 times throughout that, right? And there's a reason for it. He's been programmed to do that, because when we would have a 3-hour coaching session on one song, because trust me, that's what we did. And we would have to take a 3-hour session, take the best stuff from each section, splice it, take all those parts out, splice it together to create one 3-minute song out of it. You know, 3 to 5 minute songs. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So programs like Audacity, it's a free program you can get online. If you're fancy enough to have Pro Tools, things like that, that's how we improve so fast. We've probably shared that message with a lot of groups that says, you record the whole thing. I can't believe sometimes when I go coach a quartet and there's not a single recorder in the room. And it kind of frustrates me a little bit, because I'm thinking, I hope your memory's good, because you're going to get 50 to 100 things that you're going to need to try to remember. But on the flip side of that, just remember this: when you get coached, you get 50 tools for your toolbox added. If you only are able to perform and give 20–30% of all of that, you're still making big strides. So that's something to remember. But that splicing work was huge for us. So that's the efficiency side of things. You have somebody who's tech savvy in your quartet, have them do that stuff. And it's fun. It's like putting a puzzle together. But you have to sit down for 4 hours, listen to everything, and just put it in place. So that was part of the deal there. Our coaching evolution went from Gene and Brian really working on turns. I mean, we're talking, I mean, we would do like literally, she would let us sing 4 words and she'd go, nope. I mean, it was that regimented, that strict. And a lot of guys wouldn't put up with that, and gals. I mean, it would be a struggle for them. But we set out from the very beginning that we were going to be a hard-working quartet, and it pays off. It really does. So then we evolved into different coaches. I'd say Joe Conley. Everybody knows Joe Conley. Anybody who doesn't know? I'm kidding. Everybody knows Joe Conley. Joe Conley is a 4-time gold medal lead, and working with him was fantastic. He and Mark Hale also did the same type of thing. They'd look at us and say, so what makes a top 10 quartet international? What makes them different than everybody else? Well, first of all, they look like everything's pretty effortless. Second of all, they look like they never breathe. Right? Trust me, there's a lot of breathing going on. But Joe Conley was able to take what we did, incorporate breaths and then the interpretation of the song. I loved coming away from a Joe Conley session, and he would reshape If You Love Me, Really Love Me. If everybody familiar with the song we sing, If You Love Me, the David Wright chorus arrangement. He took that and shaped it into something I never thought it would be there, and it was incredible. So Joe was great from an inter standpoint. Then we even got into a little bit more singing, relaxation of singing. Scott Kitzmiller helped us with the resonance matching. Rob Mance from Kansas City, great. He brought bouncing ball, okay, to our coaching session. He had me sitting on a bouncing ball, exercise ball, bouncing up and down while I'm singing this song. Okay, I mean,
I was draped over the ball to relax my back while I was singing. So I was taking pictures.
I've had coaches who had me put tissues, like roll tissues up and put them in my ears and sing. I've had coaches have me lay on the ground on my back singing. I've had a really good one where the 3 guys were dismissed and into a different room. We're actually, I take that back. They stayed in a room. The coach took me into another room and like just sort of gave me some stuff, okay, away from them. But the funny part about that was the recorder was still running when those 3 were in the room without me. So to go back and listen to the dialogue, oh, that poor bastard, oh my God, he's gonna beat up. So that was pretty fun to come back to. Of course, they're belching into it and everything else. So, I guess my point in all of that is that you have to allow yourself to go outside the box to improve. You have to be uncomfortable. Gary Plagg was one of those. I was a dean of students. I'm assistant principal at high school. I mean, I'm in positions in administration where I don't like to be backed into a corner. I just don't. I mean, I can put my walls up pretty quick. I'm very defensive. And he did that. I mean, he was in my face, and I'm going, I mean, it was bad. I resisted big time. This was when we started putting our toes in the water as far as the vulnerability stage of our quartet. Marty Lovick really started that for us. Marty Lovick coached Masterpiece to a gold medal, one of our great friends, presentation category specialist for a couple of years, I think. Really put that in, started that whole wheels in motion for us. And then I think Gary really just kind of pushed it over the edge. Lots of crying here, okay, and with me too. We just do that. But it's nice to be at that point, You can't, it's hard to start there without having the technical side, everything's easy, but that's the evolution. So I just want to share that with you. Anything to add further about that? Are we good? Any questions on anything I've talked about?
So are there quartets that go for sort of the cry, make you cry type of version, and quartets that are not that
Yeah, I mean, I think you can watch an international contest and kind of see the difference between the two. We were just talking about over here, Theo Hicks from Instant Classic. If you watch international, how many of you just were completely drawn in? I mean, I love Kyle, I love Cole, I love Dave, and they're great, but I wasn't looking. at all. You know, maybe when Kyle had a big post or something, but Theo just draws you in. But then you have other groups that you'll watch, and you just they're really trying to line everything up. You know, does that kind of answer your question, or?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the emotional lines.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, are there choruses, quartets that succeed despite the fact that they don't go to the line?
Vocal spectrum, I would say, might be one of those, and I'll tell you why I can say that, because I had a conversation with Tim Warwick about 6 months ago, and when we were going through this whole vulnerability thing, he was able to witness that. He was hearing about it from our coaches, and he cornered me in a room once, and he said, you know, don't get me wrong, I love to win the international. It was great to be world champs that quick. They went from 6th place to 1st. Instant classic, 8th place to 1st. You know, so I love that, but the thing that I regret is we never got to get to where you guys are right now. You know, does that make sense? Like the complete giving, the vulnerability stage, they never really got to get there, and I think he wished he had. They were so technically great quartet. Not that they didn't have emotion, because Dolby carried, but I don't know if that helps answer the question here. But.
The notion of people that are excited by technical prowess and the people that are excited by emotional vulnerability. There's two camps, I think, in barbershop. People just love excellent singing. I think that's where vocal spectrum gets most of their praise, but they're also emotional. But if you're able to be emotional and vulnerable yourself, think of how far you're taking the audience on a journey of their own. And so you can open up and share your own story. But my best praise when someone walks up to me and says, "Wow, you took me on a journey. I remember back the time when I was with X or when I did this," and that's my highest praise. When I get done singing, I'm like, "Thank you. That was wonderful." I've gone the gambit of, I liked when people get on and say, "Yo, you're a great singer." Yeah, thank you. But now it's kind of gone this way of you took me on a journey.
What's a better compliment? And you guys really crushed that chord on that word and the 3 and the 7 and all. That might be a great compliment to some people, but when people walk up and say, "You made me cry and you made me feel something," that's a better compliment.
And something that Gary kind of and Marty pushed us toward, the idea that, you know, you're there as a performer not to tell the audience what they should be feeling. You're there as a performer to feel and to be, and you know, you are living the story, and you're living your memories so openly that it reminds the audience of something that happened in their lives. So all of a sudden they are reliving an emotion or a thought or a memory, and it's that when someone comes up to us and says, "You made me think of when something, I haven't thought of that for 10 years, and all of a sudden in that moment that just came flooding back." We've had a few people say that, and those are the moments where I break down again. But it's that idea of, you know, it wasn't I could feel your emotion, it was I was taken away to this other place because of your performance. And I think that's kind of, I won't say that is necessarily our goal, beyond just our goal is to be as real and as human and as open and accessible as possible. But when that's the end result, it's just beautiful.
I'd like to add that when I was younger and kind of just brought into barbershop, I was like on vocal spectrum and keepsake and all these amazing, everything they did to me as far as I was concerned was perfect. And as a singer, we all think that's what we're wanting to strive for, is to perfect our singing ability and whatnot. It was up until 2 years ago that I realized, that's not the most important thing. Because if we're perfect, we're not human. Does that make sense? Being perfect is something none of us will ever be.
I know what that's like.
So I mean, it is something that we love. We feel that, oh my God, it's amazing. It's like they don't do anything wrong. They do this chord and that chord. I mean, I loved it. It was my favorite thing in the world, was sticking in vocal spectrum or Keepsake, and my actress, I'm aging myself, or Marquis, and then Michigan J came along, and I mean all these different quartets. These are my probably top 3 quartets that I of this whole spectrum that I'd always looked up to in a more perfectionist type of way. It was up until 2 years ago that I realized there is a whole new level, and that's, you know, letting go of the perfection and you know, yes, we're gonna, in our careers and in everything we do, we want to be as perfect as possible, but let's be honest, it's not possible. It's not. I mean, even supermodels, they're not perfect. They just throw makeup on to make it feel like, whatever. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is exactly what they've been saying. It does, being emotional, whether it be happy, sad, anguish, any of that makes us human, which is, I think, really a better form of perfection.
It took us a while to figure out that, you know, when we play it safe, we got the feedback from judges a lot, the play it safe thing. And it's kind of, Dusty Schleier, who's here judging this week, and I brought that up to him last night. We're at the farewell lunch yesterday, and I said, you know, you kind of work very nice to us on the score sheet at one of our contests. You know, and I've never, not nice, I guess that's a bad way of putting it, but the number was lower than we might have expected. But you know what, when we got to the evaluation session, he looked at me and said, you know what, I gave you that number because you just kind of played it safe. Because you didn't go for it like I'm used to you guys going for it. I was looking for that. And it's those types of moments that you can't go in there and say, why did you give us a, you know, whatever number, and you have to learn from it. Every time, we have been very good about that. We take that advice. So when he says you didn't go for it on this tag, so to speak, the great transcendence is being able to get past playing it safe, singing everything technically perfect, into just letting go. Because audiences will forgive you. Judges forgive you. If you squawk a note, but you're completely involved in the message, who cares? How many times have you watch American Idol or one of those types of things, and they go out there and they just, I mean, everything is just, the aura's there, it's going out, and they may miss a note, but it doesn't matter. You're just completely moved.
When Carrie Underwood sang,
Carrie Underwood.
I knew it.
If you've ever seen the video, Carrie Underwood, well, singing, is it How Great Thou Art?
Felt that too.
If you haven't seen that, look it up. Pretty amazing. But anyway, that's just kind of been our journey. That kind of explains what it takes to get here. It's.
I'd like to add one point that Kevin kind of started to go toward. In that, when we talk about vulnerability and emotional and accessibility, it's not just on these heartfelt ballads. It goes into what we do with uptunes as well. So, you know, Hit Me With a Hot Note is just this fun party the whole time. But most of the time when we start doing those and you start kind of choreographing things, and it gets just kind of fake and phony, and we're smiling all of the time, and so that's the same thing where now you're putting on a party, or it's not real. And that for me was probably harder than becoming emotionally vulnerable in ballads, was to just be able to relax and play and let go and have fun in the uptunes. And so even that, when he said that, like, whether it's sad or whether it's happy or whether it's playful or giddy or everything, allowing yourself to just be real and be yourself and be open when you're on stage or just standing in a circle. That's the.
And to add to that very thick statement is how do you go there and do that, and you look at the music person, the music judges types that are going to tell, the musicians are going to tell you what to do, and that's kind of a jazzy tune. And so there's one moment of the song where it changes the theme, and are you sitting there playing a trumpet or a trombone or something, and just allow what that type of instrument does, allow your voice to do those kind of things, and then where's the mood of the song going, and then you can put your own emotions on that.
So we've seen some wonderful examples of your emotions in a ballad, and we're now talking about the other, which is something that is of interest to us, particularly under the new performance category. Would it be possible for you guys to give us a few bars of an uppy and show us what you mean about how you get into the song and
our newest song, and we kind of did our moves ourselves. A lot of times we let the coaches steer most of what we do, but I was kind of proud of us. We sort of came up with our own moves, but we did everything naturally. Nothing is manufactured. We would just kind of move, and then okay, this happened. Okay, well maybe we should do that naturally, and that's very important. Subtle stuff is very good.
So the start of the song. What?
They're just watching you right now.
Oh,
You should never watch everything.
Those Aaron did stuff.
There's 4 parts, and then there's a duet that happens here, and then they're off not singing any time, so your non-singing time is just as important. So you're on.
Oh boy.
Yep. I don't know what he is.
It's an F.
That's true.
Why do you blow the pitch pipe?
When the band starts playing, you're gonna see me swaying. When the boys start singing, I'm gonna be swinging. I can't conceal it when I start to feel it. The music, oh, it's the music that knocks me out, knocks me right. It really knocks me out. Hit me with a hot note and watch me bounce. Hit me with a hot note and watch me bounce. When trumpets heat up, give me a rug to beat up. Hit me with a hot note and watch me bounce. Hit me with a hot note and watch me burn. Or just slap me down with rhythm from stem to stern. When saxes flare up, give me a town to tear up. Hit me with a hot note and watch me bounce. Start that trombone sliding, sliding while I gather steam. Keep that tempo riding, and I'll come in right on the beam. Well, hit me with a hot note and watch me bounce. Knock me out with music in great amounts. So let that beat wave, we're gonna have a heat wave. Hit me with a hot note and watch me bounce. Baby, just watch me bounce. Hit me with a hot note and watch me bounce. Fill me up with music in every house. When chords are ringing, how can I keep from singing? Hit me with a hot note and watch me bounce. Hit me with a hot note and watch me bounce. Just hit me and I'm free from all concern. When the song's entrancing, how can I keep from dancing? Yeah! With a hot note and watching me bounce. Oh, start that trombone sliding while I gather steam. You gotta keep that tempo riding. Oh, and I'll come in right on the beat. Well, hit me with a hot note and watch me bounce. Just knock me out with music in great amounts. Let that beat wave, we're gonna have a heat wave. Hit me with a hot note. Hit me with a really hot note. Hit me with a hot note. Hit me with a hot note and hit me and just watch me bounce. Watch me bounce. Hit me with a hot note and just watch me bounce. Watch me
to see your vulnerability and to be like a glass looking in on your practice. So yeah, it's been really good. I was going to ask you, not that I want to sound stereotypical, but you come from a culture where people show their emotion, where they talk about their emotion. you've probably had interaction with international people. Do you want to comment on how they've found it in their cultures that might be described as more stiffer upper lip, or where you don't show your emotions so much? Or have you heard them talk about how they train with this, the technical and the emotional?
Well, I think really, I mean, kind of within barbershop, there's more of that actually being open with emotion. But in America, it's pretty. There's a lot of false emotion.
Right.
It's so there's
fishy.
right. There's emotion being shown, so it's not just. Oh, but the walls are actually there, and it often is fake emotion or emotion with a purpose, as opposed to just real vulnerability. So it was a struggle for most of us to get to that point. We had to talk through some of our baggage and allow ourselves to just open up to each other first before we could open up outside. So I think that's just something that is, I won't say everywhere, and different cultures have different levels of that. But I think it's something that you first, as an individual, have to decide that you're okay with. And you'll say that first, and you'll verbalize that you're okay with it, and you still won't be. It's working through. It helps to have a quartet that everybody is dedicated to making that happen, and you work through it together and open up with each other, and then start to open up outward from there.
When I watched the musical Island Boys, which you're all very familiar with, great quartet, and I haven't watched them. I mean, it's been a while since I've watched quartets in competition. But when they were coming through the ranks, I would watch, and I told Lynn this too. I'd say, there's something else driving them, and the tribal thing, that they have behind them. I felt that driving their performances. It was coming from a different place, and that was pretty cool. And that stood out for me amongst all the other American groups around them. So that was just an example.
Well, it was just nice to experience something, kind of a reverse experience. If sometimes we're being an audience, and when I know when it seems like the performance is not an in-depth performance, my mind will start to wander, and I go, well, what's up next on the program? Or I start to do different things. I had the kind of reverse of that in your performances then. It was like, I'm going to watch through some movements, and we just mentioned movements and the natural movements that you come up with them yourself, and that's great, okay, so I'm going to look at that. And then some point during the performance I went, that's right, I was going to be watching. It was lovely to be just like, I was fairly quickly just taken to, I forgot about whatever my plan was, and I was in that moment with you.
So a lot of the things I'm hearing, thank you. A lot of the things that I'm hearing were questions make me think, well, how did we do that? How did we get there? And I as a performance judge, I'm thinking, when I coach a group, I ask them, well, what's the song about? It's my first question most anytime I'm coaching somebody. What's the song about? And they need to have their own story. You develop a story of how they're going to tell this story of this song. And if they haven't thought about it, then we talk about how they could shape it. And one way is right, or there are some that are better. So then you start there, and then are you singing to a person? Are you singing to a group? Where is that person? Is the person in the room? Is it in front of you? Is it a child? Is it a happy thought? And so you just have to run all these emotions and notions of what the song is about. And then you talk about what the arranger is doing to give you ideas of where to take that emotional path, because there might be a key change, there might be a really high spot for the lead that's going to be emotionally charged, most of those things. So you just have to develop the song and take it where you think the composer is trying to take you.
Now, to add to that, I think what you're asking is, what gave you that, oh crap, that's right, I was actually looking for something. And it was the energy level, for me. It was constant energy level across the board. We're having fun. We're giving that energy to you. You forgot about looking for moves, because while we're doing these moves that you were looking for, there was an extreme amount of energy, which has to do with we're just having fun, and that song is extremely fun to sing, which is where we get that energy as well. And for me, I would have been in the same boat. I would have been like, all right, I want to see what these moves are. But as I'm in the song, singing it myself, I agree with you. You forgot about everything that you were looking for because it was just constant energy throughout the whole song from beginning to end.
We've learned and thrown away 10 songs at least.
Yeah.
That happens. You're gonna, because we get a lot. This is a great problem to have. We have a lot of arrangers who come to us and say, "We'd love for you to sing our chart," and something we give it a shot. We learn it, but it may not fit.
Yeah.
We spent. I'll be honest with you. We spent $700 on a custom arrangement from Aaron Dale. Incredible arrangement. He does a lot of OC times stuff.
And the arrangement is great.
And his arrangement's great, but it doesn't really fit us. We tried.
I tried really hard.
You give us $700. So we're trying to shoehorn something that just doesn't work. Does anybody want an arrangement for $700?
Great chart.
Great chart.
Does Aaron still talk to you?
Huh?
Does Aaron still talk to you?
Even Aaron though, even Aaron tries to modify it a little bit to fit our needs a little better. But and this is a song recommended to us from Cole Kitzmiller. It's a Doris Day song called "Ready, Willing, and Able." But it's just part of it. It's part of it. We got a new cool chart we're doing dedicated to the one I love. We're very excited. We're trying to learn it. It's pretty wild, but I think that's just another example. I think that was going to fit. I think we're good there.
A little more on talking about moves and getting lost in it. I think the main point at the end of the day is that the moves themselves are not there for moves' sakes, for the sake of the moves, and they're also not really there specifically to punctuate anything musically. They're just driven by the character. And so we all have this character of and I say character, but it's real. We're fun, we're partying, and the moves are there, but it's not like, oh, now I have to do this. It's like I'm partying, and here my hands go. Oh, hey, look at that, there they went. And so it's all part of that mood. It's not. I wanted to channel my inner Kevin on that. So all those moves, like when we come in and kind of do this thing, and then come back out, and that's all planned and choreographed, but it's not like okay, I'm having fun. Okay, now I have to do this, and then I do this, and then I do this. Okay, now I can have fun again because there are no more choreographed moves. It's all just part of the persona, and so you lose it. It gets just all part of the fabric, and nothing suddenly sticks out of the fabric.
And it has to do a lot with still letting go. Because there's I don't know how many times, there's one or two of us, maybe just one of us, that may miss a move or two or whatever. When we go, when we go old, because Brian's old. But that was a move. And sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah. Don't go like that. Yeah, that's what I meant to do.
And just there, when Aaron comes in during Hot Note, we usually do like a fist bump thing, and that absolutely didn't happen. And I just went. It's okay. It's still fun. It's still party. Yeah. Maybe it was planned. Maybe it wasn't.
Letting go. There's always that one or two guys in a quartet during the progression of a quartet where there's you didn't get your move. You messed me up because you didn't do it. And that's not letting go. So affecting the performance. So.
We're coming close to the end of time. Yeah. So a couple more quick ending questions.
Yeah,
let's put it in the back.
Okay, this is very practical. Just sort of how much time, apart from being with each other, do you spend working on songs? It's obviously an individual question.
Yeah, well, and it depends. So most of our arrangements, especially the ones that are custom, I make the learning tracks for them. So I spend a lot of time learning all of the parts, and then I quickly forget them. and at least hopefully not my part, but the other ones. That's going to live with me for a long time. So, but I do spend a lot of time on the learning tracks. But I think for me the main thing is you saw me pull out the recorder, and we talked about recording. We record every single rehearsal, and most of the time, if Brian or I remembers, we put our recordings up online so Kevin can listen, but we often forget. But
Have my recording.
yeah, but we'll listen back to that rehearsal on the way home. We'll listen back to that rehearsal on the way back in, and in between as well. I'd say between, we rehearse every 2 weeks, and in between, I try to work at least another 5 or 6 hours on quartet music, including that drive time. So probably an hour or two in between, making sure that I'm ready for the next rehearsal.
Question?
I'm just wondering, when you go into such a strong ballad like the one you did earlier, how do you get out of that and go to something like Hit Me With the Hot Note?
We all have our own. I think Kevin is the one that sticks with it the longest. So.
Yeah, I have to flip a switch sometimes. I mean, it's literally just like that. I can't tell you how I do that.
Can
Yeah, go ahead.
a couple of contests ago, we sang "If You Love Me" first, "If You Love Me Really Love Me," and then we jump into an up to me, and that went really well. But we sang it great, and we sang with some emotion, but it wasn't the amount of let go and vulnerability we have now, which is where we just can't even sing after we sing something like that. So we had to reposition our songs internationally. Joe Conley was big on this. Where are you going to put your order of 6 songs? And this year we actually opened the international with a brand new song, which was Hot Note, and then we wrote "If You Love Me," and it was just like we kept going. Well, should we do this one first, do this one, whatever? And Kevin just goes, "I won't be able to sing. I will not be able to go on to another song." So that's very strategic in that regard. But
when it comes out, in the finals, we opened with "It Only Takes a Moment," right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then went into "Ring a Ding Ding," and that one was a little bit easier because the emotion of "It Only Takes a Moment" is very giddy in a sense and very uplifting. So it was easy to transition. But I think in general the idea is that again, you're living this real emotion, and so when one song ends, you start immediately to just think about the next song and put yourself in that situation where whatever your story might be, if you have a story or if it's just you're in that situation, you start putting yourself there and you start letting yourself transition mentally and emotionally into that state.
well, we'll kind of wrap this up due to time's sake. But I think one of the questions we get a lot of, especially now, is what's next for Forefront? What's the next? And it's funny because we've contacted some
I said you watched it with Steve.
we've contacted some coaches, and the funny part, we had a couple of coaches that we worked with. We said, hey, we want to set up a coaching session, and they went, yeah, but you won. And for us, it doesn't matter. If we want to jump into, it's great to be a champion, but then you jump into the next level, which is become legendary. And how do you become legendary as a quartet? You get better, you continue to sing new songs, and you continue to give back. And those are huge, huge things. And that's what we intend to do. We're not going anywhere. We're not going to jump into the quartet and start competing. I'm especially not going to. I've been doing it for 17 years. I'm good for a little while. but that's what's next for us. And we've got a lot of great charts coming up, and we're looking forward to sharing those in some upcoming events. So we're going to sing one more song for you. Okay.
Before you do that, I just wanted to add one more thing. I'm not sure if anyone's ever wondered about why we came up with the name Forefront.
We talked about it.
Did you? I was in the bathroom. Fine.
Kevin's bathroom habits. That's another thing. We can talk 2 hours. Right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We all talk about
We do tend to close our afterglows with this song, and we do mention that we really thank our wives, significant others, for allowing us to do this. We're so blessed and fortunate to have them with us on this trip, and it's so great. Chris and Lynn are here, and it's one of those songs we just really, without them and their support, we couldn't do this. There's no way. it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time, a lot of sacrifice, so we really thank you.
It's no surprise